Hello again. This is Lynn Everard with installment 3 of our series on balancing our energies. In our last video, we talked about 5 ways in which women can abandon their divine feminine. And in this video, we're going to talk about the other 5, or at least 5 more. There may be more than 5 more. And then we'll discuss some of the other implications of this as we move forward in our series. So just to briefly recap from our previous video, the first 5 ways that women abandon their divine feminine are, the first one we talked about was trying to prove that women can compete with men. And this is a situation where instead of being in the flow, there's this overemphasis on doing, and really making it a lot harder than it needs to be. The second one is trying to prove something uh, to someone where you really don't need to prove anything. Uh, there's, in the end, when we think we're proving something to someone else, we're actually trying to prove something to ourselves. We're trying to make ourselves feel worthy, make ourselves feel better, uh, because you can't prove anything to anyone else. Really, it's really all about us. It's all about ourselves. The third one is using external power to control or manipulate, uh, to take situations and try to determine, really like force the outcome, be focused on an agenda when uh, trying to force that outcome is actually pushing us in the opposite direction of where we want to go. You've heard the term whatever we resist persists, and this would be a good example of that. Number 4 is again, really just being busy all the time, busyness to the point of exhaustion. And, that doesn't really get us too far. We think, we have a belief that, if we work really hard, we'll get where we want to go. And there's some truth to that. But a lot of times we work really hard and we don't get where we want to go. We just end up being like hamsters on the wheel. And we are really busy and not getting anywhere. And so number 5 is not being the context for what you say you want. So if you say that you want a certain thing in your life and you decide you're not going to give it to yourself, so you're not going to be the context for it, you'll be waiting a very long time for that to show up, because nothing can show up out from outside of you that is not a reflection of what exists already within you. So if you say you want something, give it to yourself first, and then it'll be almost like magic when it shows up. So those are the first 5 that we did. And so now let's go into the next 5. And let's start with uh, this habit I think that a lot of women have, which is denying your own needs in order to meet the needs of others. This often ends up being a thankless task. And if you're really honest with yourself, you'll realize that it sounds like a great idea at first, but when you deny your needs and put other people ahead of you, over time, that's going to catch up. And you'll start to notice, or maybe you won't, but the people around you will. There'll be bitterness, anger, and resentment that will start to crop up. And that's not going to get you where you want to go. In fact, it's going to take you in exactly the opposite direction. So that's something really important to be mindful about. The next one is seeing yourself as less important than others, including and perhaps especially partners, children, other family members. This again goes back into a couple of areas. One is the busyness, and one is the not putting your own needs first. And a lot of times when people don't put their own needs first, it's because they don't see themselves as important. They don't see themselves as valuable. And so this again eats away at us. And eventually something's going to flip, something's going to happen. And this too can lead to that growth in resentment, bitterness, and anger toward people that may not be really clear when it first starts to show up. It may show up as just an uneasiness, but if you dig deeper, you'll find that there's something behind that, that you've really just gone too deep and too far in not seeing yourself as valuable, and at least as valuable as those around you and as those you serve. The next one is this idea that believing that sacrifice is somehow spiritual. There are lots of examples in our world, things that we've read, people that have, people like, I don't know, we look at people like Mother Teresa, St. Francis of Assisi as a couple of examples of people that maybe have sacrificed themselves a little too much. So we're not really required to sacrifice, because when you sacrifice, you're taking something away from yourself and you're creating a deficit within yourself. And really being in service is really where we want to be. And being in service means that we get to take care of ourselves first, and then we come from a place where we get to take care of other people as well. But taking care of them is not at our own expense. And just because we do those things, it doesn't make us more spiritual. It's when we try to do that, we try to justify what we're doing, and then we're still going to end up with bitterness, anger, and resentment at some point, because when you sacrifice, deep down inside, you're probably looking for a payoff of some sort, and you may not get it. Whereas if you just honor your desire to be in service and stop short of the point of sacrificing, then you can maintain yourself and be in service and not be angry toward those you serve. If that's happening, you'll start to catch it, but sometimes it sneaks up on us and it creates some very difficult situations. The next one is this idea of believing that sex without an emotional connection will miraculously cause someone to love you. Love is a choice. We have this belief that we can earn love, right? We have a belief that we can earn money, and we have a belief that we can earn lots of things. But love is something that we can't earn, because love is either given or it's not. And people always have that choice. We can talk about unconditional love, and it's where we all strive to be. But in reality, we're not experiencing unconditional love 24/7. That's not to say that we're not having glimpses of it and having small experiences of it within ourselves, but it is not something that we're practicing 24/7. So this idea that, well, if I do this, you'll do that, right, is actually an expectation. And when you put that expectation out there, now you're making it even more difficult for you to get what you need. And there's nothing wrong with sex, but again, like with everything else, it's how you use it. What are you using it for? What is your intention behind it? And so if you're using it to get love, then you're actually being dishonest with yourself, and you're being dishonest with your partner. Love starts within us. Love starts when we are able to see ourselves as worthy of love and see ourselves as being lovable. If you know my story, you know that that's something I struggled with for a long time. As a product of incest, I grew up believing that I was clearly unplanned, felt unwelcomed, and had to be unloved. And it took me a long time to work through that, to reach to the point where I could provide all the love that I needed. And then I found something really crazy and really beautiful happen in my life, is that the more I learned to love myself, the easier it was for other people to love me, because they didn't have to feel like they were entering a secret contract of expectation with me. where it was their job to provide the love for me that I either couldn't or refused to give myself. And so it's really important that we are able to love ourselves. And you've probably heard people say, well, that person doesn't love themselves, or maybe you've said that yourself. I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe it's an either or situation. I don't believe that it's all or nothing. I think all of us actually love ourselves on some level, but each of us has parts of ourselves that we haven't learned to love yet. Each of us has parts of ourselves that, let's just face it, we don't like. We're not comfortable with parts of ourselves. We put ourselves down over certain things, and the goal really, it doesn't have to be to change everything, because if you try to change yourself to earn your own love, you're in the same boat of trying to go out and earn love from other people. You can't even earn your own love. You just give it or you don't. You have it or you don't. And it really comes down to a choice, a decision. I'm going to love myself. I already love myself. I'm going to take this one area that's been bothering me lately, and I'm going to decide to love it. It may take me 10 years from the time I make that choice to the point where I can actually consistently love that part of myself in every moment or in most moments. But everything starts with an awareness leading to a decision. And then we take our decision and we move on from there. So the last one on my list is believing that because someone abandoned you at some point in your life, that you must be the kind of person that people abandon, and then you decide to abandon yourself. We're all capable of this. And this really is the big one, because up to this point, we've talked about specific things of where we abandon, of where women especially can abandon their divine feminine. But when you decide to abandon yourself because someone else abandoned you, that's taking it to the nth degree. That's 1,000 times more powerful and 1,000 times more damaging. You are your divinity, and you have the essence of God within you, and you don't ever have to abandon yourself, because you're worthy just because you exist. And I know that's a hard concept for people sometimes, but it's the truth. If you weren't worthy of existing, you wouldn't be here. And just think about that for a moment. We all get so wrapped up in what we think is wrong with us, and wrapped up in trying to figure out how to get what we think we need. And we don't always understand that, we're all the same. We all struggle with the same stuff. It looks different on each of us, but it's really all the same. So remember that you are worthy just by virtue of the fact that you're alive and that you exist. So there's another area that I want to look at today, and we may look at it a little bit more in the final video next week, but many of us have secrets. In my case, I was a secret. And secrets can do a lot of damage to us, especially emotionally and especially energetically. If you have a secret that you're involved in, maybe you've been asked to carry a secret by someone else, it's really important to understand the negative implications, the negative impact that can have on you. And if you're interested, I'm going to be doing an online program called Releasing the Energy of Secrets. It'll probably happen in the next 30 days. So if you'd like to be made aware of that, I would encourage you to visit my website at www.lyneverard.com. It'll be in the notes under the video. That way you'll get on my email list and you'll be able to be notified when I'm going to do one of those workshops. It's very powerful. It's a way to let go of the energy of secrets, a way to let go of the physical damage that those secrets can be doing in you, because secrets can create a lot of damage. Now, I also want to, really look at the idea of this thing we talked about last time, which is authentic power versus external power. So authentic power is the power that comes from within us, and external power is a power that we try to push out into the world, oftentimes through control and manipulation. Each person, when they are, and in this case, I'll use women, each woman, when she is in her divine feminine, she has authentic power coming from within that can help create the life that she wants to have. So she doesn't need to resort to the external power to go out and to try to push it out into the world, or to try to pull things in from the world. When she's in her authentic power, that radiance that we talked about last time, that radiance is going to actually draw everything she desires to her. It's almost like a force field, like a tractor beam. If you've ever watched sci-fi space movies, you know what a tractor beam is, right? They some ship will open the door and they have this beam, and it'll reach out and it'll literally almost be like a magnet, and it pulls that smaller ship to it and pulls it inside. And that the radiance of the divine feminine is like a tractor beam that can bring you and pull you what it is that you desire in your life without all of the doing. That's not to say that you won't do anything, but the difference is that when you're in that authentic power, you'll operate on the basis of inspired action. That means that the actions you take won't be a matter of throwing stuff up against the wall and hoping something sticks. It'll be something that you feel very strongly about, that you'll take this action because it will help move you forward in terms of what you're creating in your life. So before we wrap up, I want to remind you that I am available for up to 6 women to do a 90-day program with me. This is one-on-one, and we will really go into the space of working with you to help bring you back into your divine feminine, where that becomes your power base, that becomes your source of authentic power and how you're going to create your life. Remember, we talked about before how all of these ways of abandoning the divine feminine, many of which are actually operating heavily in the masculine, are actually not helpful for the things that we want to do. And I can make more information available to you. I would encourage you to contact me. We can set up a strategy call and determine if we would be a good fit to work together. And again, if you have any questions, you can post them under the video. You can reach out to me. And again, I would encourage you to go visit my website, lyneverard.com. There's a free gift on there for you. There's a video, and there's a free gift for you if you leave me your email address. And then you'll be on the list to know the events that are coming up. And that way you'll be sure not to miss out on the things that are coming. As always, I wish you much love and success in your life and much joy. And I will talk to you next time. Thank you.